like it when films are timeless.
Yeah.
And by putting it back in time a little bit, it's not there and it's not here. And when you have to build everything or bring it in or take it out, you're more selective. And I think it has a more effect on the story.
Something that is so often overlooked when we talk about good cinematography is good production design. So much of what makes a frame look good is the stuff you fill it with and the places that you're shooting. Marty Supreme is a perfect example of this. Recreating 1950s New York is no easy feat, which is why director Josh Safdie hired one of the greatest production designers in the world, Jack Fisk. This is the guy that worked with Terrence Malick on Days of Heaven, The Tree of Life. He also worked with Paul Thomas Anderson on There Will Be Blood and The Master, and just recently he did Killers of the Flower Moon with Martin Scorsese. There is only a very small handful of people that I would consider absolute legends and masters of their craft in cinema, and Jack Fisk is one of those people. On YouTube specifically, I feel like production designers never get enough credit, which is why I'm so glad I get to share this conversation that I had with you with Jack. I really think you're gonna learn something with this one. Please enjoy my conversation with Jack Fisk, all about bringing the world of Marty Supreme to life.
Josh called me about 3 years before we started the film. I was in Oklahoma working with Martin Scorsese, and he started telling me, I didn't know him, and I wasn't even familiar with his work. He talked about this film he's gonna make about ping pong, and it seemed so out of the blue, you know. But he intrigued me. First of all, that he called, and he seemed so passionate about it. About 3 years later, I heard from him. He says, "Okay, we got Timothy and the money, and we're gonna go." When I met him, I just kind of fell in love with him because his energy, his excitement, and that's what I look for. Is most of the directors I work with are also writers, so they've written the project and they've already invested years into it, and if they're still excited about it and passionate, I know it's going to be a fun ride.
Do you find that that passion is probably the most infectious part? Is that really what you're looking for? Just someone who cares?
Yeah,
right?
Somebody who cares. And even in crew members working in the art department, I can forgive mistakes, but if you don't care, it's just...
Because it comes down to that intention, right? As long as you're coming from a good place of wanting to do
And you've
good
got to
work.
be, in a film, whether you're a director, producer, or art director, or production design, you got to be taking chances. And if you take chances, you could make mistakes. But if everybody's working together, and you know the intentions were positive, you correct them or smooth over them or change things.
So that passion, how does that translate to Josh on set and working with you? Because he also seems like someone who's very detail oriented, of like knowing exactly what he wants, right?
He's very detail oriented. I've always considered myself as kind of a minimalist. I discovered when I first started working on films and we had no money that it was better to choose the set dressing and the props because they told you so much about the character. And I didn't want to fill up the set because the human eye can only, assess so much as a character walks by.
Totally.
But Josh is a maximalist and he likes to fill up every corner. And but he moves through them so fast and with tight lens that you have to receive subliminally the environment.
How does it feel to fill a room that probably might not, there's like hardly any wide masters in this movie, right? It's like
fill blocks of downtown to make it look like the 50s.
Yeah.
And
it's just a quick, like that classic shot of Timmy running down the street.
Yeah.
Like you had to fill all of that period accurate, right?
Next to the shoe store was a modern hotel. We had to cover, hotel was 150 feet wide with built storefronts and dressing and stuff. And then we spent a week or so designing a sign for Norkins with neons, never in the film. But all that stuff helps the actors. It helps Josh. And the way Josh works, you don't know what's going to be in, so you really want to cover yourself.
But you're famous for always like sort of advocating for 360 sets anyways though, right?
Yeah.
And so even on this, even knowing like when you're looking at the dailies or the monitors even on set and you're going, well, we put all that stuff in those drawers, no one's ever going to see it, but I know it's there, right?
Yeah.
And was there moments where the characters knew that stuff? Was there any improv where someone like opened something to find things that you guys had populated it for?
I didn't see the sort of day-to-day, when they're shooting.
Totally.
But they could open anything. They could, we made like 8,000 boxes of shoe boxes with labels on them and tissue paper in them and all that stuff. So
did those shoes have to be like period accurate in case someone grabbed them though? Like was that part? That's wild.
Yeah. So Adam Willis, I've worked with I think on 3 or 4 films, is just a great decorator. And he's as crazy about minutia as Josh and as crazy about research as I am. So I relax a little bit knowing every drawer is going to be filled, and the stuff that's in the set will be right for the period.
Do you chat with the actors during the process leading up to it? Did you chat with Timothy to be like, this is how this world is sort of going to feel for you?
I didn't really on this one. Sometimes I do, but I saw Timothy before the film, and he was in a wardrobe fitting. He jumped on the floor, did like 10 push-ups. He goes, "I'm ready." He was so into the character and so excited about the film.
Yeah.
And he's been real complimentary to my work.
Amazing.
And I think he, you know, because he's much younger.
Yeah.
I was 7 when this film, you know, period takes place.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'd lived in New York in the 60s. So I kind of remembered a lot of stuff because I lived on the Lower East Side. And I remembered a lot of it, and it was fun for me to recreate that. And I think they trusted, you know, Timothy, and I know Josh did, and stuff, sort of trusted what I would do was right. Because Josh and we got together early on looking at pictures from street photographers.
Yeah.
He found a beautiful film at the Museum of Modern Art that was taken on Orchard Street in 1950, color film.
Yeah.
And that became sort of the genesis or the core of what we were doing.
Amazing.
I always look for, you know, the essence of a place. And by getting to shoot on Orchard Street, it was already there. You know, even though there was graffiti on all the buildings that we had to hide, there was garage doors that come down in front of every shop we had to take off or hide. We brought in, you know, awnings. We actually built modular storefronts.
You've worked with some of the greatest cinematographers in the world over the years, which is incredible. This is your first movie with Darius.
First movie with Darius.
I've always been a fan of him for forever. I think Seven's one of my favorite looking
I've
movies.
known about Darius for years, and I think it was both ways. We were excited to finally get to work together. He's such a lovely man.
Yeah.
He's.
I'm curious, like your relationship with a cinematographer, because for me, it's like another DP once told me, it's just like good cinematography is like 90% a good place in spaces, and the rest is how you light and lens it, right? But it's like if you need, like this space right now, like this bookshelf is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me with this shot with you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you're working with a cinematographer, how early is Darius starting to chat with you of like how he wants to light this, the sort of tone that he wants from it?
You know, a lot of that is formulating in the pre-production. In the pre-production period, Darius came on location scouts, so he was seeing, you know, 3 or 4 options to Lawrence's table tennis parlor.
Yeah.
And we would discuss things and how it was going to be lit. You know, that I was always concerned that it looked right, natural and realistic, and he was concerned that he had a light to get the actors at either side of the table and see some depth. And I found early on in my career that you need to work well with a cinematographer, because otherwise what we do will not be seen, or it'll be too well seen when you want it to be sort of in shadows.
Yeah.
And he was real sensitive to that. You know, I've worked with I worked with Chivo on 6 films, so we have a different
shorthand,
language,
right?
shorthand. And I'm sure that I'll do more with Darius, and we'll be able to work off of this one. You know, it just be that much easier.
Absolutely. I mean, from your career, like working with Terrence and stuff like that, and obviously with Chivo, like there is a tendency to lean more towards natural light sequences.
I remember when I first started in film, they would bring in these huge lights.
Yeah.
And the sets were too bright. And I go, well, I can't see the set. And they said, well, you have to look through this contrast filter. And it just was, you know, you just didn't know how it was going to be on film, and you're waiting to dailies to see if what they said was true, and sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. Then with the new faster films and stuff, the sets are more naturally lit. And then when you work with directors like Terrence, Malick, who shoots with natural light, it looks like this room, you know, and then you shoot it, and it looks like this room. So it's gotten much better. And Chivo used to help me set up my still camera, so I could shoot a set that was lit or a location, and it would look just like what the film would.
Amazing.
What the film would show up. So
and now we just use our iPhone.
Yeah, and now I use my. But I would go to locations and kind of watch the time, and I go, this one would be good to shoot between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and they'd put it on the schedule.
Yeah,
because
that's cool.
Chivo would look at the light, and that's what he wanted.
I'd love to get into some scenes real quick from Marty Supreme to talk about. The first one that comes to mind is the bathtub.
Oh,
So I'm so curious about that sequence because are you in an actual apartment complex for that, or did you guys build 2 floors?
we built 2 floors. Yeah.
Amazing. So it's obviously a practical. The tub falls through, but that's a built. Those are 2 built sets.
One of the first things we talked about is everybody came into the art department. We had a table set up there, and Josh was trying to figure out how we were going to do it.
Yeah.
And we had a set designer, Mark, who teaches and is really good at SketchUp.
Yeah.
And he just started whipping it up on his thing, and he designed the effect in SketchUp in just a few hours, and we pretty much stayed to that. The special effects people figure out how to make it happen with what he illustrated, and construction, built the 2-story unit and the tubs, and a lot of time was spent on how the floor was going to look when the tub fell through, and the thickness of it, and how long it would take to do a second take.
I was gonna say, how many takes did you do of the tub falling? One take. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's obviously the ones in the shot. That's incredible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of applause on set. Were you there for it?
I was there.
Yeah.
It was a pretty exciting day.
Yeah.
I know everybody was jazzed up. It was just, but because it was just, we were shooting up, looking down, and down, looking up, and it was fun.
Were there any other scenes like that one in the script where you were like, oh, I wonder how we're going to do this one? Do you have those thoughts while you're reading scripts these days? Or you're just like, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a fun one to sort of get my head around.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love, I think one of the things that production designers do in creating these worlds is solve problems and also figure out how to do it economically, by combining sets or putting them closer together so you're not traveling so far.
Totally.
We were shooting the bowling alley, and we built a gas station sort of out in the same area so that we could shoot the bowling alley one day and then shoot the gas station. If there's any overlap, we were able to buy time because we only had one day in the bowling alley. And
that was I was going to ask about the bowling because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it you guys built the bowling alley?
No, the bowling alley was built in 1949 in Hancock, New York.
Yeah.
And it was it's a small town, and it was kind of like he was having trouble getting people to even come into his bowling alley. And we went in and took out all the stuff that had been added since 1949, painted all the walls. We took up the outdoor carpet. We put tile down because it seemed more 50s.
Yeah.
We rebuilt the counter where you order food. I mean, most of that rebuilding was just taking away all the modern stuff. And we also designed and built signs for the outside and got all that done, but we never had time to shoot them.
Oh, shoot.
So sometimes you shoot stuff and it doesn't make it to film. Sometimes you build stuff and it doesn't even get shot.
Wow.
But we were moving at such a pace, and it was a 3-hour trip to get there. So you spend the first 3 hours a day getting there, and then there was many pages to shoot, and it was a complicated scene because when you see the film, there was a whole exchange of money.
It's like the amount of inserts and just coverage is wild.
And all the coverage. I think he had 3 cameras. Skip, the sound, the guy who puts together the sound in the film was talking about the trouble he had because there was bowling going on all the time.
To keep
the 3
chaos.
cameras, you always had at least one on the bowling alley, and you had to show the people throwing the ball. And so suddenly you couldn't hear the dialogue. It was really a challenge for him to separate all the.
That's wild. I mean, what the bowling adds that chaos to it, though, right? It's like the choppers in Apocalypse Now. It's like if they're not there, you don't feel that tension at all times. I want to talk about the used car lot shot, and the reason I bring this one up is, and this is something I feel about this film, and I would love to hear your take on it. That shot feels like out of like a Michael Mann like Thief or something. You know what I mean? Like, and there's something to this movie that even though it takes place in the 50s, feels like an 80s movie.
Well, music has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely, it does. But did you guys talk about that in any of the design of how this film sort of came together? Of just it feeling like, what if we made this movie in like 1989 or something?
Here's the thing: is Josh was born in the 80s.
Yeah.
So his reference was all from the 80s.
Yeah.
I was born in the 40s,
Totally,
so my reference is much older.
Yeah.
But the car lot you were talking about was done on the last day of shooting.
Wow.
Right outside the sound stage where we were shooting inserts. We had no time. It was written to be in a diner, but there was no time to drive to a location. We didn't have any money left to dress the location and stuff. So, but we had some old cars that we were using in the film. So I got this idea of doing a used car lot. I said, just get me a string of lights and those cars so we can reflect on that. We built a corner of a building. We rented a telephone booth, painted it, put it in there, and they finished in the stage. It came out, set up, shot that in like an hour or something.
It looks, like I said, it's one of my favorite shots in the film. It's to know that it sort of came almost by accident.
It was like probably our cheapest set.
I want to talk about just period films in general, because you've done so many now. Really, what do you think at this point? Because there's a lot of filmmakers that maybe have stories that take place at different times that aren't today, but they look at it and go, there's no way I'm going to be able to recreate 1950s New York or the 60s or the 70s. What do you, like, but then you talk about how you just like, well, we were outside in the lot, we just got some old cars together. What do you think is the essence then? Is it that box that you put yourself in? Is it being economical and tight in your shots and creating the mood of it? Or, because it's expensive, period films, as you know, and they're getting more expensive now as we get more and more modern in the world. Yeah,
I like it when films are timeless.
Yeah,
and by putting it back in time a little bit, it's not there and it's not here. It's sort of, it has a timeless quality that works, to me, for most stories. I would rather work harder to take it away from the everyday world. I mean, we're bombarded by so many things, and if the real world's there and you think it's acceptable, you let a lot of things into the frame that are confusing. And when you have to build everything or bring it in or take it out, you're more selective, and I think it has a more effect on the story. Because the script is basically, 120 pages of dialogue, and you have to create a world for this dialogue to take place. The cinematographers, they had a slogan that says, tell me where to stand and I'll shoot the world. And we're building the world. And the director will tell them where to stand.
I think that's a great spot to end this. I want to say on behalf of just cinema lovers, we all appreciate what you've done over the years with films. Like so many of the movies that I love, a lot of the reasons I love it are because of your work. And it's an honor to have talked to you today, and congrats on Marty Supreme. Excited for what you're doing with Ang Lee next, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love what I do, so it's nothing but fun. And it's like a plus if the film is received well.
I think people are loving this one.
But yeah, on this one I'm really excited about it.
Amazing.
But
thank you.
I wouldn't want to do anything else.
I can tell. I love what I do too, so this is great. This is great.
It's obvious.
It's the best. Yeah. Passion is infectious.
Yeah.